The starship cut through the darkness of space like a silver needle threading through black fabric. Inside the UNS Horizon, Ambassador Minho Kim stood at the observation window and watched the stars streak past. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples and tired eyes that had seen too many negotiations fail. His blue diplomatic uniform was pressed perfectly, but his hands trembled slightly as he held his coffee cup. "We'll arrive at Carthan Prime in 2 hours, sir," said Jisoo Park, his assistant. She was younger, barely 30, with sharp eyes and a mind that could calculate political angles faster than most computers. She carried a datapad and wore the same blue uniform, though hers had fewer medals. Minho nodded slowly. "Have you read the latest reports on the Vakros?" "Yes, sir. They've conquered 40 systems in the last decade. They view other species as inferior. Their military is massive and their emperor doesn't tolerate disagreement." Jisoo paused. "Sir, are you sure about this mission?" "No," Minho admitted with a small smile. "But someone has to try. Humanity needs allies, not enemies. We're still new to this galaxy. If we can make peace with the Vakros, other species will take us seriously." Captain Daehyun Choi entered the observation deck. He was a military man through and through, with a square jaw and shoulders that seemed built to carry the weight of command. His uniform was black with gold trim, marking him as the ship's commander. "Ambassador, I don't like this," Daehyun said bluntly. "My intelligence reports say the Vakros have murdered diplomats before. Species that complain just disappeared from the galactic stage." Minho turned to face him. "I know the risks, Captain. But what choice do we have? If we hide, we look weak. If we fight, we're outnumbered. Diplomacy is our only option." "Diplomacy only works when both sides want peace," Daehyun replied. "The Vakros want submission. Then I'll have to convince them otherwise." Minho's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and suddenly Carthan Prime filled the view screen. It was a massive planet, 3 times the size of Earth, covered in red and orange clouds. Enormous space stations orbited it like metal moons. Warships patrolled in perfect formations, their hulls black and covered in weapons. "Those are Vakros destroyers," Daehyun said, pointing at the screen. "Each one could destroy a city. They have hundreds of them." Minho felt a chill run down his spine, but he kept his face neutral. "Send our diplomatic credentials. Request permission to dock." The response came quickly. A harsh, guttural voice spoke through the communication system. "Human vessel, you are permitted to approach. Any deviation from the assigned flight path will result in immediate destruction. Welcome to the Vakros Empire." Jisoo and Minho exchanged glances. Some welcome. The Horizon docked at a massive station that looked more like a fortress than a spaceport. When the airlock opened, 6 Vakros soldiers stood waiting. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces were angular and cruel, with small eyes that glowed faintly red. Each wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. "Ambassador Minho Kim," one of them growled. "That's me," Minho said, stepping forward with confidence he didn't entirely feel. "You will follow. The Emperor will see you when he decides you are worth his time." It was an insult delivered casually. Minho ignored it. "Of course. We are honored by the Emperor's invitation." They were led through corridors of dark metal. Everything in the Vakro station was designed to intimidate. The ceilings were too high, the halls too wide, making humans feel small. Statues of Vakros warriors lined the passages, each one holding weapons and standing over defeated enemies. The message was clear. The Vakros were conquerors, and everyone else was prey. Lieutenant Hyejin Lee, their security officer, walked close to Minho. She was small but tough, with quick eyes that scanned everything. Her hand never strayed far from her sidearm. "Sir, we're being watched. Cameras everywhere, and I count at least 20 soldiers following us." "I see them," Minho whispered back. "Stay calm. Don't give them a reason." They were brought to a vast chamber that could have held 1,000 people. At the far end, on a throne of black stone, sat Emperor Thulvar. He was massive, even for a Vakros, with scars covering his arms and face. His eyes glowed brighter than the others, and when he smiled, his teeth were sharp. "So," Thulvar said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "the humans finally come to grovel." Minho walked forward, refusing to show fear. Jisoo and Hyejin followed. "Emperor Thulvar, we come not to grovel but to speak as equals. Humanity wishes to establish peaceful relations with your great empire." Thulvar laughed. It was a terrible sound, like rocks grinding together. Equals, you are children. Your species only discovered faster than light travel a few decades ago. We have ruled the stars for millennia. You are insects compared to us. Even insects can bite, Minho said calmly. But we prefer cooperation to conflict. The Emperor's smile faded. Careful, human. Others have shown such pride before. Their civilizations are now dust. High Commander Velmon, who stood beside the throne, stepped forward. He was even more battle-scarred than the Emperor. Your species knows only war with itself. We have studied your history. You fight and kill your own kind over trivial matters. You are savages. Minho felt anger rise but pushed it down. You're right. Humanity has fought many wars. We've made terrible mistakes, but we learned from them. We learned that peace is stronger than war, that cooperation builds more than conquest. Perhaps the Vakros could learn the same. The room went silent. Several Vakros warriors reached for their weapons. Tholivar raised one hand, stopping them. Brave words, the Emperor said softly. Or foolish ones. We shall see. You may present your proposals tomorrow. Tonight you will be shown to your quarters. Try not to embarrass yourselves further. They were dismissed like servants. As they walked back through the corridors, Jisoo leaned close to Minho. Sir, that was dangerous. You challenged him. I know, Minho said quietly. But if we show weakness now, these negotiations are already over. They need to see that humans have spine. They also need to see that we're willing to bend, Jisoo replied. Otherwise, they'll break us. That night, in their assigned quarters, the human delegation gathered. The rooms were plain and cold, clearly not meant for honored guests. Daehyun had brought a security team and they swept the rooms for listening devices. They found 17. They're not even trying to hide their surveillance, Daehyun said grimly. Let them listen, Minho replied. We have nothing to hide. Our goal is peace. Yijin shook her head. Sir, with respect, I don't think they want peace. They want submission. Every word they've spoken, every gesture, it's all designed to make us feel inferior. I know, Minho said, sitting heavily on the plain metal bed. But we have to try. For Earth, for all our colonies. If we fail here, we fail everywhere. Jisoo stood by the window, looking out at the massive Vakros warships patrolling the space around Carthan Prime. Sir, what if trying isn't enough? What if they've already decided to reject us no matter what we offer? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then we'll find out together. And humanity will know we tried. Outside their window, a Vakros battleship drifted past, its weapons glowing in the darkness. Inside that cold room on an alien station, 5 humans prepared to negotiate for the future of their species against an empire that viewed them as nothing more than amusing insects. None of them knew that in 3 days, one of them would be dead, and the galaxy would never be the same. The morning on Carthan Prime came with red light filtering through the station's viewports. Minho woke early, his stomach tight with tension. Today the real negotiations would begin. The Vakros guards arrived exactly on time, their heavy footsteps echoing in the metal corridors. They led the human delegation to a conference chamber that was deliberately uncomfortable. The chairs were too large for humans, the table too high. Everything was designed to make them feel small and out of place. Emperor Thulvar arrived an hour late. It was another insult, another test. Minho waited patiently, his hands folded on the table, his face calm. Jisoo sat beside him, her datapad ready. Hyejin stood against the wall, watching everything. Let us begin, Thulvar said, not bothering with greetings. You wish to trade with the Vakros Empire. Very well. Here are our terms. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing a list of demands. Jisoo's eyes widened as she read them. Minho's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. These terms are unacceptable. Explain, High Commander Velmon growled. You demand mining rights to 3 of our colony worlds. You demand we limit our military to defensive forces only. You demand access to our technology, but offer nothing in return except the privilege of not being attacked. Minho leaned forward. These aren't trade terms. This is surrender. Thulvar's eyes glowed brighter. You speak as if you have leverage, human. You do not. We offer you the chance to exist under our protection. That should be enough. We don't need protection, Minho said quietly. We need partnership, mutual respect, fair trade that benefits both sides. Fair? Velmon barked out a harsh laugh. The strong do not need to be fair. The weak should be grateful for mercy. Minho stood up slowly. He was much smaller than any Vakros in the room, but he met their eyes without flinching. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near extinction. We didn't survive by being weak. We survived by being stubborn, by refusing to give up no matter the odds. So no, Commander, we will not accept these terms. The room went deathly silent. Vakros warriors shifted, their hands moving toward weapons. Jisoo touched Minho's arm gently, a warning. Even Hyejin looked nervous. You dare refuse the Emperor? Velmon stepped forward, all four of his arms flexing. I dare offer better terms, Minho said. Terms were both our people's benefit. Terms built on respect, not threats. Thulvar studied Minho for a long moment. Something flickered in the Emperor's eyes. Something that might have been respect or might have been anger. You have courage, Ambassador. Foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. We will hear your counter-proposal. But know this. If you waste our time, there will be consequences. The negotiations continued for hours. Minho offered fair trade agreements, technology exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. The Vakros rejected everything, always demanding more, always pushing for submission. It was exhausting, like arguing with a wall that occasionally threatened to crush you. During a break, Chancellor Krevtok, an older Vakros with white markings on his gray skin, approached Jisoo. He was one of the few Vakros who hadn't openly mocked the humans. Your ambassador is brave, Krevtok said quietly, glancing around to make sure no one else heard. Too brave. The Emperor is not accustomed to being challenged. We're not trying to challenge him, Jisoo replied. We're trying to negotiate fairly. The Vakros do not negotiate. We conquer or we allow existence on our terms. There is no middle ground. Krevtok's expression was troubled. You should leave before things become worse. We're diplomats. We can't just leave because things are difficult. Difficult? Krevtok looked at her with something like pity. Child, you don't understand. The Emperor has already decided you are a threat. Your refusal to submit, your courage, it makes him look weak to his commanders. He cannot allow that. Before Jisoo could respond, the guards called them back to the negotiation chamber. The afternoon session was worse. Velmon openly mocked humanity's military, bringing up records of human wars and calling them evidence of barbarism. You kill your own kind over resources, over beliefs, over insults, he sneered. You are no better than animals. Minho's voice was tight when he responded. Yes, we've fought wars. Terrible wars. Wars that taught us the cost of conflict. Every human child learns about the world wars, the nuclear weapons, the millions who died. We carry that history like a scar. It's why we value peace so much. We know what it costs to lose it. Pretty words, Thulvar said. But words are wind. The Vakros learned our lessons through conquest. We are strong because we do not hesitate. We do not doubt. Perhaps humanity would benefit from such clarity. Perhaps, Minho said slowly, the Vakros would benefit from doubt, from questioning whether strength alone is enough, from humility. The room exploded into shouts. Vakros warriors roared insults. Velmon's forearms spread wide in a threatening display. Even Krevtok looked horrified, but Thulvar raised one hand and silence fell instantly. His face was unreadable. You dare speak to me of humility? I speak of it because humanity learned it the hard way. Through failure, through loss, through nearly destroying ourselves. We learned that being strong isn't enough. You need to be wise too. Wisdom, Thulvar said softly, is knowing when you have gone too far. This session is ended. We will reconvene tomorrow. As they left, Hyejin whispered urgently to Minho. Sir, that was too much. You pushed too hard. Maybe, Minho admitted. But if I don't push, they'll walk all over us. They need to know humans have limits. That evening, Krevtok found Jisoo in the corridor outside their quarters. He looked frightened. You must leave tonight now. The Emperor is furious. He has called a council meeting. I fear what he will decide. We can't leave, Jisoo said. We have diplomatic immunity. Even the Vakros respect that. Krevtok grabbed her arm, his grip desperate. You don't understand. The Emperor respects nothing when his pride is wounded. Please convince your ambassador. Leave while you still can. Jisoo promised to talk to Minho, but before she could, a summons arrived. The Emperor requested a private audience with Ambassador Kim. Tonight. Alone. No, Daehyun said immediately. It's a trap. It might be a chance to actually talk, Minho countered. Without all the commanders and warriors watching, maybe Thulvar will be reasonable. Or maybe he'll kill you, Hyejin said bluntly. Sir, this breaks every security protocol. You can't go alone, Minho looked at each of them. If I refuse, the negotiations are over. If I go, maybe we can still salvage this. I have to try. Then I'm coming with you, Daehyun insisted. No. He asked for me alone. If I bring guards, it's an insult. Minho managed a small smile. I'll be fine. I've handled difficult leaders before. Not like this, Jisoo whispered. Her instincts screamed danger, but what could she do? Minho prepared carefully. He recorded a message on his personal device, set to send automatically if he didn't return by midnight. He put on his best uniform, the one with all his medals from previous successful negotiations. He wanted to look like an ambassador, not a victim. At the door, he paused and looked back at his team. If something happens, don't let my death start a war. Promise me. Sir, don't talk like that, Hyejin said, but her voice was shaky. Promise me, Minho repeated. They promised, though the words tasted like ash. Minho was led deep into the palace complex, past guards and through corridors that grew darker and more isolated. The Vakros warrior guiding him said nothing, just walked with heavy steps that echoed ominously. The chamber they entered was small, private. Thulvar sat on a simple chair, not his throne. For a moment, Minho felt hope. Maybe this would be a real conversation. Ambassador Kim, Thulvar said, you are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both, Your Majesty. You challenged me today. In front of my commanders. In front of my court. Do you understand what that means in Vakros culture? I wasn't trying to challenge you. I was trying to negotiate fairly. There is no difference, Thulvar stood. He was enormous, towering over Minho. You made me look weak. You suggested I lacked wisdom. You dared to lecture me like a child. I apologize if I caused offense. That wasn't my intention. Intentions don't matter. Only actions. Only consequences. Thulvar circled Minho slowly. Your species is a problem. You are too proud, too stubborn. You refuse to accept your place. And now you've given me no choice. Minho's heart began to race. Your Majesty, whatever you're planning, please reconsider. I'm here under diplomatic protection. Protection? Thulvar laughed coldly. Who will protect you? Your 5 soldiers? Your single ship? Humanity is alone out here, Ambassador. No one will help you. No one will even care. The door opened. 6 warriors entered, their weapons drawn. Minho tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. He fought because humans always fight when cornered. But he was one man against 6 trained Vakros warriors. It was over quickly. At midnight, Jisoo's comm device chimed. Minho's scheduled message arrived. They will kill me to provoke a response they think we're too weak to give. Don't let my death be in vain. Remember who we are. 2 hours later, Vakros guards delivered a body bag to the human quarters. Inside was Ambassador Minho Kim, beaten and executed. The official statement claimed he had attempted to assassinate the emperor and was killed in self-defense. Everyone knew it was a lie. Jisoo held Minho's diplomatic seal in her shaking hands, tears streaming down her face. The news reached Earth in the middle of the night. Secretary General Somin Kang was awakened by her security chief, who simply said, "Ma'am, you need to see this immediately." In her office, she watched the report 3 times, her face growing colder with each viewing. Ambassador Minho Kim dead, murdered by the Vakros Empire. The official story was absurd, insulting. Minho attempting assassination? The man who had spent 30 years building peace? Get me the Security Council now, and someone find out where Admiral Sunwoo is. I need him here within the hour. The United Nations Security Council met in emergency session. Representatives from every major nation on Earth gathered, their faces grim. President Jin Ho-bae of the Korean Federation spoke first, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. They murdered our ambassador. They murdered him while he was under diplomatic protection, representing all of humanity. This is an act of war. We can't go to war with the Vakros, someone argued. They have 10,000 warships. We have barely 2,000. It would be suicide. So we do nothing? President Jinho's fist slammed on the table. We let them kill our people and just accept it. What message does that send to the galaxy? That humanity can be murdered without consequences? Secretary General Somin raised her hand for silence. Her voice when she spoke was quiet, but carried the weight of judgment. The Vakros Empire has violated the most fundamental law of civilized society. They killed an ambassador, a man who came in peace, who was protected by every treaty and custom known to spacefaring species. If we don't respond, we're not just weak. We're declaring that human lives mean nothing. But what can we do? Another voice asked. We can't win a conventional war. Admiral Sun Woo-han entered the chamber. He was older, with white hair and a face lined with decades of military service. But his eyes were sharp, calculating. We don't need to fight a conventional war. We need to fight a human war. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Soman said. The Vakros are arrogant. They think in terms of fleet battles, massive engagements, traditional warfare. They conquered their empire through overwhelming force. Sun Woo pulled up a holographic display. But humanity learned a different kind of warfare. We learned from our mistakes, from our history. We know that you don't need to destroy an empire's military to destroy the empire. You destroy its ability to function. He manipulated the display, showing the Vakros Empire's infrastructure. For 3 years, our intelligence services have been mapping their territory. Supply routes, communication networks, manufacturing centers, command structures. We know where their fuel comes from, how their supplies move, how their orders are transmitted. We know everything. Intelligence Director Taeyang Nam stepped forward. He was younger, quick and clever, with the kind of mind that saw connections others missed. We have operatives throughout Vakros space. Not spies, the Vakros watch for those. We have traders, merchants, refugees from other species they've conquered, people they don't notice, people who've been feeding us information for years. Are you suggesting we attack their infrastructure? President Jinho asked. I'm suggesting we dismantle it, Sun Woo replied. Piece by piece. We hit their supply depots, their communication satellites, their fuel refineries. We make it impossible for them to coordinate their forces. And while they're trying to defend everything, we do something they'll never expect. What? Soman leaned forward. We capture their emperor. The room erupted in shocked voices. It was insane. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of crazy plan that might actually work. General Yuna Oh spoke up. She was the head of special operations, a woman who had led missions on 6 different worlds. I have a team that can do it. 12 operators, the best humanity has ever trained. We've been preparing for deep penetration operations in hostile territory. This is what we trained for. You're talking about infiltrating the Vakros homeworld, someone said incredulously, past all their security, into their palace to capture or kill their emperor. The odds don't matter, Yuna interrupted. What matters is sending a message. The Vakros think they can murder our ambassadors because we're weak. We need to show them they're wrong. We need to show them that if you kill one of ours, we'll take your king. Soman looked around the table at the assembled leaders of Earth. If we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will see us differently. Some will fear us, some will hate us, but they'll never underestimate us again. They murdered Minho, President Jinho said quietly. He was my friend. He was a good man who believed in peace. If we do nothing, his death means nothing. If we act, maybe his death means something. Maybe it means the galaxy learns that some things are sacred. The vote was unanimous. Secretary General Soman addressed the United Nations General Assembly the next morning. Her speech was brief, her words chosen with care. Ambassador Minho Kim was murdered while under diplomatic protection. The Vakros Empire has violated the most sacred law of civilization. They have given us no choice. We are not asking for justice. We will take it. The broadcast went out to every human colony, every ship, every outpost. And through the Galactic communication network, it reached every species in known space. The galaxy was shocked. Most thought humanity was bluffing. Some species sent quiet messages of support. Others predicted humanity's extinction within weeks. The Vakros Empire issued a mocking statement, saying they looked forward to crushing human arrogance. But in secret facilities across Earth's solar system, humanity prepared. Admiral Sun Woo gathered his fleet commanders. This operation has a simple goal: make the Vakros Empire blind, deaf, and helpless. We're not fighting their fleet. We're destroying their ability to use their fleet. Hit fast, hit hard, and disappear before they can respond. Make them chase ghosts. Commander Yoonji Shin stood before her squadron of experimental stealth fighters. They were small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors. Our targets are shipyards. The Vakros build their warships at 3 massive facilities. We destroy those, they can't replace losses. Questions? One pilot raised her hand. Ma'am, if we're detected, we'll be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Then don't get detected, Yoonji replied with a cold smile. We're humanity's best pilots. We're flying the most advanced ships ever built, and we're angry. That makes us dangerous. General Yuna briefed her infiltration team in a secure bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The 12 operators were diverse, different nationalities, different specialties, but all sharing the same deadly competence. Our mission is simple, Yuna said. Infiltrate Carthan Prime. Locate Emperor Thulvar. Capture him alive if possible. Kill him if necessary, extract. The entire galaxy will be watching what happens next. Our actions will define how humanity is seen for generations. Make it count. Corporal Minjae Park, the team's technical specialist, studied the palace schematics. Ma'am, their security is extensive. Multiple layers, redundant systems, guards everywhere. How do we get past it all? By being smarter, Yuna replied. The Vakros think in terms of force. They protect against armies. They're not prepared for 12 humans who are willing to do whatever it takes. Taiyang's intelligence network activated across Vakros space. Sleeper agents began sabotaging communication relays. Quiet bribes convinced dock workers to delay shipments. Computer viruses written with humanity's extensive experience in cyber warfare began spreading through Vakros networks like invisible poison. The Vakros noticed nothing. They were too busy celebrating their victory over the weak humans who dared challenge them. President Jinho made a final broadcast to the fleet before they departed. You carry with you the hopes of every human being. Minho Kim believed in peace, but he also understood that peace requires strength, that some things are worth fighting for, worth dying for. Show the galaxy that humanity remembers its dead. Show them that we honor those who fall. Show them that there are consequences when you murder our ambassadors. The fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system. 2,000 ships, from massive carriers to tiny fighters. It wasn't enough to defeat the Vakros Empire in straight combat, but it was enough for what they needed to do. Admiral Sunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UNS Vengeance. The name had been chosen carefully. This wasn't a peacekeeping mission. This was retribution. All ships report ready, Admiral, his communications officer said. Sunwoo thought of Minho, whom he'd known for 20 years. A good man, a peaceful man, a man who deserved better than to be murdered by thugs in uniforms. Then let's remind the galaxy who we are, Sunwoo said. All ships jump on my mark. Target Vakrospace. Mission, justice. The fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth behind. They wouldn't return until the mission was complete. Until Ambassador Minho Kim's death was answered. On Carthan Prime, Emperor Thulvar received reports of the human fleet's departure. He laughed. Let them come. We will crush them like the insects they are. High Commander Velmon wasn't so certain. Your Majesty, perhaps we should prepare? Thulvar's eyes glowed with contempt. For what? They have 2,000 ships. We have 10,000. They are children playing at war. This will be over in days. But in the depths of space, humanity's fleet didn't head for the Vakros home fleet. They split into dozens of small groups, each with specific targets. They moved silently through the darkness. The first strike came at dawn on a Vakros mining colony in the outer territories. Commander Yunji's stealth fighters appeared out of nowhere, their weapons tearing through the orbital refinery before the Vakros even knew they were under attack. Within minutes, the facility was destroyed, cutting off fuel supplies to an entire sector. The Vakros fleet rushed to respond, but the attackers were already gone, vanished into the darkness of space. Where did they go? Velmon demanded, staring at the tactical display. How did they bypass our sensors? Unknown, Commander, his aide replied nervously. Our scans show nothing. It's like they were never there. Before Velmon could respond, reports came in of 3 more attacks. Shipyards destroyed, communication satellites obliterated, supply depots burning. Each attack was surgical, precise, and impossibly fast. This is impossible, Velmon growled. Humans don't have this technology. They can't have stealth this advanced, but they did. Humanity had learned from decades of studying alien technology, combining it with their own innovations. The result were ships that could hide from almost any sensor, strike like lightning, and disappear before retaliation was possible. Admiral Sunwoo watched from the bridge of his flagship as reports flooded in. Every target hit, 0 losses. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. Cut their communications. Across Vakros space, human cyber warfare teams activated. Viruses that had been dormant for months suddenly came alive, eating through Vakros computer networks. Military communications went dark. Orders couldn't be transmitted. Commanders couldn't coordinate with their fleets. The mighty Vakros Empire, which had conquered through overwhelming coordinated force, suddenly found itself deaf and blind. "What's happening?" Tulvar roared in his throne room. "Why can't we communicate with our fleets?" "The networks are down, Your Majesty," a technician stammered. "We're trying to restore them, but the damage is extensive. It's like nothing we've seen before, then fix it." Tulvar's forearms gestured violently. "Send messengers by ship if you must. I want our fleets assembled. I want these humans found and destroyed." But finding the humans was proving impossible. They struck from multiple directions, never where expected, never in the same pattern. Vakros fleets rushed to defend critical facilities, only to find the humans had already struck somewhere else. On Earth, Taiyang monitored the operation from his command center. Holographic displays showed the Vakros Empire's infrastructure failing, piece by piece. "It's working. They're responding exactly as predicted. They're concentrating their fleets around major population centers, leaving their outer colonies exposed." "Good," Soman said, watching over his shoulder. "How long until they realize their real vulnerability?" "They won't," Taiyang replied with grim satisfaction. "They're thinking like Vakros. Big fleets, big targets, big battles. They don't understand asymmetric warfare. They're fighting the war they know how to fight, not the war we're actually fighting." Meanwhile, far from the chaos of the military campaign, General Yuna's infiltration team approached Carthan Prime in a stolen Vakros transport. They'd captured it weeks ago, reprogrammed its identification codes, and filled it with forged cargo manifests. "Approaching security checkpoint," their pilot announced. She was a Vakros refugee, one of thousands who had fled the Empire's cruelty. She spoke the language perfectly, knew the customs, and had every reason to hate Emperor Thulvar. Vakros security scanned their ship. "Transport vessel Krathvor, state your business." "Delivering supplies to the Palace District," the pilot replied calmly. "Manifest code 7739, there was a pause. The team held their breath. If the security codes didn't work, they'd be discovered and the mission would end before it began. Cleared. Proceed to docking bay 12. Inside the cargo hold, Yuna and her team waited silently. They wore Vakros civilian clothing, their weapons hidden in shipping containers. Corporal Minjay had forged identification documents so perfect that even Vakros scanners couldn't detect the fraud. "Remember," Yuna whispered, "we're cargo handlers. Keep your heads down. Don't make eye contact. Blend in." The ship docked. Vakros dock workers came aboard to inspect the cargo. The team played their roles perfectly. Board workers moving boxes, complaining about the heat, arguing over shift schedules. The Vakros inspectors barely glanced at them. Within an hour, they were inside Carthan Prime's capital city. The city was massive, built to dwarf visitors. Buildings rose like mountains, covered in dark metal and sharp angles. Statues of Vakros warriors stood on every corner. Military patrols marched through the streets in perfect formation. "We're ants in their world," Minjay muttered, staring up at the towering architecture. "Good," Yuna replied. "Ants are invisible. Nobody notices them until they bite." They split into 3 groups, each heading to a safe house established by Taiyang's intelligence network. The safe houses were run by other species the Vakros had conquered but never quite broken. A Ralthian shopkeeper who hated the occupation, a Gren merchant who had lost family to Vakros brutality, silent allies who wanted to see the Empire hurt. Over the next 3 days, the team gathered intelligence. They monitored patrol patterns, mapped security systems, identified escape routes, and they learned something crucial. Emperor Thulvar had gone into hiding. "He's scared," Minjay said, reviewing intercepted communications. "All these attacks have him spooked. He's locked himself in the palace with his elite guard. Triple security. Nobody in or out without multiple checks. Can we get through it?" Yuna asked, directly. "No, the security is too tight. We'd need an army to fight our way in. Then we don't fight. We sneak. Through what? They've sealed every entrance. Guards everywhere. Sensor nets, automated defenses, the works." Yuna studied the palace schematics they'd stolen. "There has to be a way. Nobody builds a fortress without a weakness. We just need to find it." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a young Vakros named Kihun, who worked in the palace as a low-level administrator. He was the son of a minor noble who had been executed by Thulvar for speaking out against the Emperor's excesses. Taiyang's network had identified Kihun as a potential asset. One of Yuna's team made contact in a quiet tavern far from the palace district. "Why should I help you?" Ki-hoon asked, his forearms crossed defensively. "If I'm caught, they'll kill me and my entire family." "Because you know what your emperor is," Yuna replied. She showed him footage of Minho's murder, the lies about the assassination attempt, the mockery of diplomatic law. "He's a murderer, a tyrant. And if we don't stop him, he'll just kill more people, from your own species and ours." Ki-hoon watched the footage in silence. When it ended, his eyes were glowing with anger. "My father said the same things. That Thulvar was dishonorable. That he brought shame to the Vakros. They called my father a traitor and killed him in front of us. Help us," Yuna said quietly. "Help us bring him to justice. Not for humanity. For everyone he's hurt." Ki-hoon made his decision. There are service tunnels under the palace. Old maintenance corridors that most people have forgotten about. They're not monitored as heavily because they're supposed to be sealed, but I know codes that can open them. "Why would you have those codes?" Min-jae asked suspiciously. "Because I work in infrastructure records. Nobody pays attention to maintenance workers. We're invisible." Ki-hoon smiled bitterly. "Just like you're trying to be." Over the next 2 days, Ki-hoon provided detailed information about the palace layout, guard rotations, and security protocols. He gave them codes, maps, and insights into Vakros psychology that proved invaluable. "The Emperor's personal quarters are here." Ki-hoon pointed to the map. "He's surrounded by 50 elite guards at all times. They're the best warriors the Vakros have. Each one could defeat 10 normal soldiers." "How do we get past them?" Yuna asked. "You don't. Not all of them. But there's a small group within the guard who are loyal to Prince Karthul, the Emperor's son. The prince hates what his father has become. He thinks the murder of your ambassador was dishonorable. If you can convince him you're not here to destroy the Vakros people, just to capture the Emperor, he might help." It was a risk. A huge risk. But it was the only path forward. Yuna's team entered the maintenance tunnels at midnight. The corridors were dark, cramped, and dusty. They moved in complete silence, communicating through hand signals. Every sound could give them away. Min-jae worked his magic on security panels using codes provided by Ki-hoon. Each door opened smoothly. Each camera looped harmlessly. The Vakros security was sophisticated, but it was designed to stop armies, not small teams of highly trained infiltrators. They reached a junction point beneath the palace. Above them, through layers of stone and metal, was Emperor Thulvar, the man who had murdered Minho, the man who thought humanity was weak. "Contact established," whispered the team member monitoring communications. "Prince Karthul agrees to meet. He's sending coordinates." The meeting happened in a storage room filled with old ceremonial armor. Prince Karthul entered alone, his forearms tense, ready for betrayal. He was younger than his father, with fewer scars, and his eyes held something that Thulvar's lacked: doubt. "You're the humans," he said. "Not a question." "We are," Yuna replied. "Are you going to alert the guards?" "No, I want to hear what you have to say." "Your father murdered our ambassador." The secret passage opened silently. Yuna's team moved through the darkness like shadows, their footsteps making no sound on the stone floor. They wore suits that absorbed light, masks that filtered their breathing, and carried weapons designed to kill quickly and quietly. The Emperor's personal quarters were guarded by 20 elite warriors, but Prince Karthul had been true to his word. Half the guards had been reassigned on a false maintenance emergency. The remaining 10 were the prince's loyalists, who had agreed to look the other way for exactly 10 minutes. But there were still automated defenses, sensors, cameras, traps. Min-jae worked frantically, disabling systems one by one. His fingers flew across his portable terminal, breaking encryption, rerouting signals, creating blind spots in the security network. Sweat dripped down his face despite the cool air. 8 minutes left, whispered a team member. They reached the final door. Beyond it was Emperor Thulvar, the man who thought he was untouchable, the man who had murdered an ambassador and laughed about it. Yuna placed a small device on the door lock. It hummed quietly as it analyzed the mechanism, calculated combinations, and found the right sequence. Click. The door opened. The Emperor's chamber was enormous, decorated with weapons and trophies from conquered worlds. At the far end, on a raised platform, Thulvar sat in a chair carved from black stone. He wasn't wearing his ceremonial armor, just a simple robe. He looked smaller somehow, more like a tired old man than a mighty emperor. His head snapped up as they entered. His eyes widened, then narrowed with fury. Humans here? Impossible. Nothing's impossible, Yuna said calmly. You murdered Ambassador Minho Kim. We're here to bring you to justice. Thulvar lunged for a weapon mounted on the wall, but he was old and they were ready. 3 stun blasts hit him simultaneously. He crashed to the floor, his forearms spasming. Search him, Yuna ordered. Check for panic buttons, implants, anything. As they secured the Emperor, alarms suddenly blared throughout the palace. Their 10 minutes were up and someone had discovered the breach. We need to move, Minjae shouted. Every guard in the palace is about to come down on us. They hauled the stunned Emperor onto a hover stretcher and ran. The escape route led through the maintenance tunnels, but already they could hear boots pounding, orders being shouted, weapons being charged. This way. Prince Karthul appeared from a side corridor, waving urgently. They've blocked your planned route. Follow me. I know another way. They ran through a maze of passages, the prince leading them with desperate speed. Behind them, Vakros elite guards gave chase, their weapons lighting up the dark tunnels. There! One guard spotted them. Energy blasts screamed past, scorching the walls. 2 of Yuna's team turned and returned fire, laying down covering shots. The narrow tunnels worked in the humans' favor. The Vakros couldn't bring their superior numbers to bear. It became a close quarters fight, and humanity had spent centuries perfecting that kind of combat. They reached a hidden hangar bay where a small ship waited, engines already hot. It was Prince Karthul's personal vessel, provided as part of his bargain. Go, the prince shouted. I'll seal the door behind you. Buy you time. Come with us, Yuna said. They'll kill you for this. No, my place is here. Someone needs to rebuild what my father destroyed. Karthul's eyes met hers. Tell the galaxy that not all Vakros are murderers, that some of us still understand honor. They loaded the Emperor and launched. The small ship screamed out of the hangar just as Vakros fighters scrambled to intercept. But Commander Yunji's stealth squadron had been waiting in orbit, hidden and ready. We've got you, Yunji's voice came through the comm. Follow our lead. We'll get you out. The escape from Karthun Prime was a running battle through orbital defenses and minefields. The stealth fighters created confusion, appearing and disappearing, drawing fire away from the small ship carrying humanity's prize. 3 fighters were destroyed, their pilots dying to protect the mission. But they made it. They jumped to faster-than-light speed with Emperor Thulvar as their prisoner. The news exploded across the galaxy faster than light itself. Emperor Thulvar, ruler of the mighty Vakros Empire, had been captured by humans. The images were everywhere. The Emperor in restraints being led aboard a human ship looking small and defeated. The Vakros Empire fractured immediately. Dozens of commanders claimed authority. Some wanted to continue the war. Others wanted peace. Several border systems simply declared independence. The great military machine that had conquered 400 worlds ground to a halt, consumed by internal chaos. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Council Speaker Threnvak, a tall insectoid being who had led the council for decades, called the chamber to order. The humans have committed an unprecedented act, Threnvak said. They have captured the leader of a sovereign empire. This raises questions of law, custom, and the very nature of galactic civilization. Secretary General Soman addressed the council via hologram. Her face was calm, her voice steady. Ambassador Minho Kim was murdered while under diplomatic protection. This violated every law that holds our civilizations together. When the Vakros Empire killed our ambassador, they declared that law meant nothing. That might made right? That the weak could be murdered without consequence. So you responded with war? Demanded a delegate from the Corithian hierarchy. You attacked an empire, destabilized an entire region, and kidnapped a head of state. We responded with justice, Soman replied. Emperor Thulvar will stand trial for murder. Under human law. The trial will be fair, open, and broadcast to the entire galaxy. Everyone will see the evidence. Everyone will see justice served. This is outrageous, shouted the Vakros delegate, a loyal supporter of the old regime. You have no authority to try our emperor. He murdered our citizen, Soman said simply. That gives us every authority we need. The trial will proceed. The galaxy will watch, and everyone will learn that human lives are not worth less than any other species. The council was divided. Some species supported humanity's actions, secretly relieved that someone had finally stood up to Vakros aggression. Others condemned it as warmongering. But nobody could deny the effectiveness. In 3 weeks, humanity had brought a mighty empire to its knees. The trial was held on Earth, in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Judge Hannah Kwan presided, a woman known for fairness and firmness in equal measure. The courtroom was designed to accommodate different species, with translators and atmospheric controls for all. Emperor Thulvar sat in the defendant's chair, looking diminished in human-sized furniture. His forearms were bound not with chains but with energy restraints that glowed faintly. He glared at everyone with impotent rage. The evidence was overwhelming. Video of the negotiations. Testimony from Jisoo and Dae-hyun. Analysis of Minho's body showing it was impossible for him to have attacked anyone. Even Chancellor Krevtok testified via remote link, describing how the Emperor had ordered the murder. Thulvar's defense argued that he had sovereign immunity, that human law didn't apply to a Vakros Emperor, that this was all illegal. Judge Kwan listened patiently, then delivered her ruling. Diplomatic immunity exists to protect those conducting diplomacy. Murder violates its purpose. No immunity protects the act of killing an ambassador under diplomatic protection. Emperor Thulvar stands accused of murder. He will be tried under the laws that govern all civilized beings. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Every species in the galaxy watched. They saw human justice, slow, methodical, fair. They saw evidence examined carefully. They saw witnesses questioned. They saw a system that valued truth over power. The verdict was inevitable. Guilty of murder. Guilty of war crimes. Guilty of crimes against sapient species. How do you sentence an emperor? Judge Kwan asked rhetorically during the sentencing phase. The same way you sentence anyone else who commits murder. With justice. With the understanding that no one, regardless of power or position, is above the law. Emperor Thulvar was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. He would spend the rest of his days in a maximum security facility. Just another prisoner. Not a martyr. Not a fallen hero. Just a murderer serving his sentence. The Vakros Empire, meanwhile, was transforming. Prince Karthul, with support from reformist factions and High Priestess Dalvara, established the Vakros Republic. They reached out to humanity, offering genuine peace. Ambassador Donghyun Lim, Minho's successor, met with Prince Karthul in a ceremony broadcast throughout both civilizations. The meeting place was carefully chosen, a neutral space station under full diplomatic protection. My father's actions brought shame to my people, Karthul said formally. On behalf of the Vakros people, I apologize for the murder of Ambassador Minho Kim. It was dishonorable, illegal, and unforgivable. Donghyun accepted the apology with grace. Your father's crimes were his own. The Vakros people are not guilty of his actions. We look forward to building friendship between our civilizations. They signed a treaty that day. The Vakros Republic agreed to disarm 60% of its military, release all enslaved species, and submit to independent oversight. In exchange, humanity offered economic aid, technological cooperation, and a path toward genuine partnership. Ironically, the Vakros people came to respect humanity deeply. The species they had thought were weak.